So let's practice everything we've learned so far. And much like a full yoga practice, now that we've learned about our 8 limbs of yoga, we will be practicing Shavasana at the end. So let's get started in our easy, comfortable seat. And by all means, if you do want to have a seat on something, we know that lifting the hips can put a little ease in the knees, and by all means, if you're more comfortable with legs out, legs out. But sitting up nice and tall, connecting your sit bones to the mat, lightly engaging your core to support the spine, sitting up nice and tall with soft shoulders and relaxed jaw. We're scanning the body from where we connect to the mat, our legs and seat, up to the crown of our head. We're making sure jaws and shoulders are soft. And then we'll bring the focus to breath. First, big inhales that inflate the lungs, push down the diaphragm, and fill up the belly. Exhales that contract and strengthen the core and give us that clarity of mind. You might think about exhaling away some strong thoughts and feelings. Big inhales to oxygenate the muscles, to give us energy. Long released exhales for clarity and release. We talked about briefly in our 8 limbs about maybe finding an intention to focus on. Some people might use a word like peace or clarity. Sometimes it's something they're looking to overcome. But if you ever need a focal point that goes beyond breath and body, especially as you advance your practice, an intention might be perfect for you. But maybe choosing your focal point now, here at the beginning of class. So as we flow together, it's something you can draw your mind back to should it wander off. And remember, the wander off, completely normal. We're training our brain just like we train our bodies. Let's inhale, fill up. Exhale, flutter open our eyes. Big inhale. And we're just going to exhale our left ear over to our left shoulder. We're going to make some nice space in the right side of our neck. It can feel really nice to walk your right hand away to deepen the stretch across the top of the trapezius. We'll take right hand in. We'll inhale our head up. And we'll take right ear, right shoulder, and we'll look for that beautiful space in the left side of our neck. Possibly reaching our left hand out. And then we'll bring our head up tall. We'll sit up tall. We've been practicing our cats and cows pretty regularly. Let's try on something new. We call it Sufi ground, and it's a bit like a seated cat and cow. So hands on your knees. On the inhale, we're pressing our chest forward, very akin to our cow. And as we exhale, we're arcing our spine, kind of making that cat-like shape. Inhaling chest forward. exhaling and arcing. I love Sufi grind because it really warms up your lower back. It's awesome if you have lower back pain. And it's just a little variation on how you might start a class. Remember, we talked about different types of yoga. You'll see this maybe more in Kundalini than Vinyasa, but we like to pool and mix and match. So find a nice place to pause because we want to keep the breath pattern, but we want to turn the direction of our circles. So inhaling over, exhaling, arcing, changing up the direction of our circles, noticing any new places that might be a little sticky in your lower back, and just continuing to connect breath to movement in a new way. Let's take one more full rotation. We're going to inhale over. We want to try and end on an exhale arc so that when we inhale, we can sit up nice and tall. Stay for the exhale. Next inhale brings hands overhead. We'll take left hand down. We'll reach right. I absolutely love side body work. Turn up to look up at your ceiling so you're not rounding into it. We know that the more we get into our side body, the more we release the muscles that we use to stabilize our backs. Wonderful for the lower back pain folks. Let's inhale, come up. Right hand down, nice big reach of left. And a little turn into it so it's truly opening up side body. Let's inhale both hands up. Exhale, tip to table. Since we took our Sufi grind, we're going to skip our cat-cows. If you had any props underneath you, go ahead and remove them. And since we're going to be practicing our balance poses that we just learned, let's give our toes a curl under and bring a little blood to our toes, to the bottoms of our feet. Let's wake up our arches in our toe squat or broken toe. Don't forget, you can always lean on your hands. If your feet don't get a lot of love, usually it might take a little bit of time to open them up, and that's okay. But blood flow to feet is huge for being able to balance. We can't have tingly or asleep at toes if we want to be able to connect and find our footing. So come forward, uncurl. Tap, tap, tap out the tops of your feet. So I absolutely love for the ankles a hero's pose. You'll see people come back and sit on their heels. Great way to take it if it works for your body. If it feels like too much pressure in your ankles or you're just not comfortable in your seat, you can use your yoga block between your ankles. Or this is why blanket towel is one of the most important tools you probably have laying around your house. It can be folded up like a block, placed between. Now there's not as much pressure, but we're still getting this awesome ankle and shin stretch, which we know will serve us well in our balance poses. Little engagement of the core, lift from the spine. And then we'll tip forward. We will remove any props. Tap out, maybe give our toes one more curl under. This time we'll lift our seat and find our downward facing dog. Don't forget, we love to pedal out our heels, wake up our calf muscles. Now that we've been building up our strength, why don't we check in with how we know if our down dog is in a good length? Exhale, roll your hips down, your shoulders right over your wrists, down dog. And high plank should look much the same. So you bring your seat back up. Now you got your hands and feet right where you want it. For me, it's always just a little longer than I expected. So those good pedals. We'll walk feet up to hands. We'll come to a forward fold. Let's inhale, half lift for good measure before we hang out in our Uttanasana, our forward fold. Don't forget, you can grab your elbows. You can let your arms hang. You could rest your hands on a prop. But something that inspires your spine to release. You might shake out your head or gently sway out your torso, which is just another wonderful thing for your lower back. Let's drop our hands, roll up nice and slow. Remember, we're imagining we can put one vertebra in place at a time, with the vertebra in our neck stacking last, which means our head is the very last thing to come up. Grounded feet about hip distance apart. Couple shoulder rolls can be nice. So let's practice a few of our sun salutations. We're inhaling, bringing our hands overhead. Exhaling to our toes. We're looking for our half lift, not just a transition, but a pose. Hands to mat, high plank. Let's come to our knees, press the tops of our feet in, take our low plank. So we're building strength to come down to our belly, pressing into the tops of the feet, and using almost no hands, just our strong back to come up to cobra. Elbows in at the ribs. Toes curl under. You can come up through table on your way to downward facing dog. Couple petals. Exhale to the top. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep your hands up overhead. Exhale through heart center. Let's do one more. So it's inhale, arms up. Exhale, toes. Half lift. High plank. Knees down. Pressing into the tops of the feet. Remember, from your half plank, you could still lower to a modified chaturanga. Elbows in at the ribs. Press into the tops of the feet. Inhale up. Your upward facing dog, as long as it feels safe in your back. Toes curl under. Downward facing. Couple petals here. Maybe an open mouth exhale to release some heat if you find it building. And then we make our way to the top. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep hands overhead. Leave your hands up overhead. Let's come into our sun salutation B. Remember our strong chair. Have a seat. So the weight's in your heels. Your seat is going back, almost like you're gonna sit in a chair, but before you land, you just hold with strength. Shoulders soften away from ears. Core is engaged, so you don't have a big arc in your lower back. Big inhale, exhale to toes. Half lift. High plank. Knees, if you'd like. Maybe to the belly, elbows grazing the ribs. Inhale, cobra, shoulders away from ears. Maybe you come up a little higher. Use the arms a little bit more. Down dog. We're taking right foot, bringing it between hands. We're opening up left foot into a 45-degree angle. We are pressing through the pinky edge of our left foot. Hands come up. Our right knee stacked. We're toggling our hips, trying to bring right back, left forward, but we're being kind to our backs. Our lower spine's getting a real twist, and kind to our back knee, because you might really be feeling the stretch in your calf muscle. What a beautiful warm-up for some of those balance poses. Big inhale. Exhale, come on down, frame. Step back to high plank. Lower however you'd like. Again, we can modify if it's gonna build up the strength. Inhale your back bend. Downward facing dog. Left foot comes between hands. Right foot finds 45 degree and the pinky edge of the foot grounds in. The stability on that back foot is just so important. It does 50% of the work. Knee stacks on the ankle for leg joint safety. We play with the hips to give us that beautiful stretch in the lowest part of the back, as well as our calf, but in a way that honors and doesn't force our body. Shoulders are soft, never a reason to introduce tension. Big inhale. Exhale, high plank. Lower with control. Inhale, back bend. Elbows in, shoulders away from ears. Top of the feet press to the mat. Downward facing dog. On the exhale, we come to the top of our mat. Inhale, come up halfway, lift. Exhale, fold. We're gonna inhale our hands up and our seat back. Instead of coming up to standing, here's just another way to get into chair. So the weight's in your heels. Your shoulders are away from ears. How are you feeling? Take your hands to your heart. Inhale your chest forward. Take your left elbow, hook it outside of your right knee. How does that little twist feel? Press into your palms. Make sure your left knee doesn't jut out in front of your right. It's in line. So we're twisting from the waistline. You could even open up your arms. Here's one of those little standing pose variations that we talked about. Close it up. Inhale, center. Do the same to the left. So right elbow hooks on the outside of left knee. You could always use a straight arm too. Just make sure your right knee doesn't pop in front of your left, because that means you'd be twisting from your waist, from your hips. And we really want to twist from our waist. Optional open up. Close up. Come back through center. Sit back into your chair. Big inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Half lift. High plank. The variation of your choosing, but lowering, full of strength. Even if it's modified, let it build. Inhale, back bend. Downward facing dog. So let's do a little something familiar. Right foot between hands, left foot open 45. Hands come up, warrior one. Muscle memory kick in. Bring your hands to your lower back. Interlace your fingers. Reach your knuckles past your tailbone. Engage your core. Big opening in the chest. Little look up. Exhale your hands overhead, bowing inside of your right leg. This is called humble warrior. It's a variation on that warrior one. We want our knee over our ankle to keep it safe in front. And it's a real challenge to do 50% of the work and back. But you've got this. Inhale up. Hands overhead. Come on down, frame. I think we deserve to skip a flow, so send that right foot back. Just come into downward facing dog. Take a couple nice pedals. Take your left foot. Bring it between your hands. Open right foot, 45 degrees. Warrior one. Practicing those good standing poses. Feeling ourselves kind of drop into our bodies. And then we take those standing pose variations. So interlacing your fingers from behind, reaching your knuckles, engaging your core. It can be so tempting to get this big back bend, but that might not feel very good to your lower vertebra. Core engaged. Really make it all about opening up the chest and shoulders. Big inhale. Exhale, bowing just inside of our leg and pressing into our back foot. 50% of the work. Open shoulders, bow of humility. Inhale, come up. Hands overhead, warrior one. Frame your foot just to another downward facing dog. We've taken a lot of flows. Big inhale. Exhale to the top. Inhale, half lift. Forward fold. Inhale, bring your hands overhead. Exhale, have a seat into the chair. So let's practice a balance pose. It's a big guy, but we've been practicing. We've been learning a lot. I think we're ready for it. So you're going to pick up your right heel. You're going to walk your foot over. Remember how we said in balance poses, we can start slow and balanced? Just kickstand your toes. That's it. But you're still seated into your left leg like a chair pose. Now take your right elbow over your left. You could take your palms together, your backs of hands, or palms to shoulders. This is eagle pose. It's a big guy, but it teaches us that kickstanding is a beautiful place to start, especially when we start adding something like an arm movement. Now with time, your toes might float, and one day they might wrap around the calf, but today's not that day. What does matter is that core is engaged and spine is lifted. Big inhale. Exhale, unwrap, unwind. Take your steps out. The little tops of the feet into the mat. All right, let's try it again. Inhale, hands up. Exhale, have a seat into your chair. Feet about hip distance apart, shoulders relaxed away from ears. Left heel lifts up. It's going to walk over to the outside of your right foot. Crossed at the knees. It's still like we're seated in our chair, and we're using this beautiful kickstand to find our balance. Then we take left elbow over right. Remember, it could be palms, backs of hands, or palms to shoulders. Love this pose because it teaches you to modify for your body. As long as you can pick your elbows up in line with your shoulders, you're going to be finding some beautiful strength, some beautiful shoulder opening. Core is engaged. We're strong in this very challenging balance. Unwrap, step out your feet. Maybe a little taps. Make sure things feel good. We're going to take a final flow to rinse out our spines, and then we're going to start winding down our practice. So inhale your hands up. Exhale to your toes. Half lift. Our final high plank. Maybe coming to our knees as we continue to build our strength, lowering with control. Inhaling back bend. And let's come up just to table. And we'll take our legs out from underneath. And we'll take a moment here. Give our ankles some rolls. Press through the tops of our feet. So sometimes before we get to our back, we might take a few seated poses, and we'll talk more about that in the next module. But let's try on a simple one. So we're going to bend our left knee, keep our right leg out long. Here's a half straddle, probably something you've done before. Keeping your knee soft, we're going to just hinge over our leg. If we take a lot of balance poses in class, I like to release our legs because they've been working good and hard. And we do want our bodies to feel balanced. Remember, the whole point of the physical practice is to loosen up our bodies so that we can prepare for meditation. So focus on inhaling, lengthening out your spine, and just hinging until you feel a good stretch in the back of your leg. Keeping your knee soft. You know we don't like hyperextending. Let's inhale, float up. Bend into both of our knees. Plant and windshield wiper in just a little bit of space. And we'll do the same. Extending left leg. Right foot opens into a half straddle. You can see I'm leaving my leg mostly in front with my soft knee. So I can hinge over and just focus on everything that was working so hard in that eagle standing balance. A big inhale. Exhale and hinge. Don't forget, shoulders are soft. Don't introduce tension. And then we'll inhale, float up, bend into both of our knees, plant our feet, windshield wiper in a bit of space. And then we'll head to our backs. So it's always a big transition to go from seated, standing, to lying flat. I always like to come in for one more set of windshield wipers to make sure our lower backs are as relaxed as they can be. We'll give our knees a great big hug to our chest. Circle out. And then we'll set our knees off to the right. Here's our ending twist. So you really want your shoulders relaxed against the mat. It might even feel good to open your arms. You could face the ceiling, or you could look to the left and get a little neck rinse. Now is a good time to start coming back to body, to breath, to intention. Our practice is really good at focusing our minds, especially when we're doing sun salutations or balancing. But when we start to come into stillness, we want that focal point. So seeing if you can't come back. Even when the mind is tempted to wander off, to find this place of concentration. Take your head center, your leg center. Give your knees a hug, a little rock out, circle out. Knees come to the left, shoulders relax to the mat. You might even open up your arms to remind right shoulder to relax. You might look to the right if it feels nice in your neck. Then you can most certainly face your ceiling if that feels better for you. But assessing where you're at. Physically, mentally, energetically. Head center, leg center. Give them a little hug and squeeze out, rock out. Draw your forehead out to your knees. The only time I'll ever tell you to create tension in your body. Take almost like a full body flex here. And then exhale. And come lying on your mat. So let's practice a Shavasana. Again, our physical practice is to get us to this point where we're comfortable lying on our mat. So take a moment to scan. You have your good blanket towel. You could always bring it under your knees, under your lower back, anywhere that needs bonus support. But you want to get comfortable lying down. You want to peel back that physical layer. So we are scanning our bodies just like at the beginning of class. And we are looking for lingering tension, and we are going to try and relax it out. Again, you don't want any of the physical body breaking your concentration. Relax it deeply. Feel your belly rise and fall with breath. This is our pranayama, our life force. We might think about breathing into parts of our body that need deeper release. We might think about breathing a softness, a stillness over our nervous system. So we're inspired to release deeper into where we connect to the mat. Then let's explore that fifth limb of yoga, pratyahara. So what sensory information are you picking up? Sounds, smells, light behind your eyelids. We notice them, and then we retract our focus. We don't try and define these things. They truly become part of the background so that we can find dharana, our concentration. It could be the body, it could be the breath, it could be an intention. But put your whole focus there. And that's as far as we're going to go today. But we are going to find that one place of concentration, and we're just going to keep coming back. So see it clearly in your mind's eye. Paint a picture of it. Feel like it's so real you could touch it. We are training our brains the way we train our bodies to keep coming back to this space. No matter what other thoughts crop up. And it's okay if we go down a path, we come back to our dharana, our point of concentration. How's it going? It can feel a little frustrating at first. Stay with that concentrated point just a few breaths longer. One more time. Find your point of concentration. Breathe it down deep into you. Now the next time you fill up with breath, fill up so deeply you drop back into your body, into your breath's connection to it. Exhale completely. Inhale to bring a little movement to your fingers, to your toes. Roll out your wrists, your ankles. Turn your head side to side. It can feel nice to reach and stretch your arms. Traditionally, we roll off to the right so we can press ourselves up into our easy seat. And there we have it, getting closer and closer to our full yoga practice. So check out Module 4, where we'll start incorporating some back bends, some hip openers, and some inversions.